I just want to let you all know that childcare is provided. We do have childcare. It's in one of the back rooms. So if you do get with one of city staff or the sheriff, they'll direct you to where childcare is. And we do have tacos till 7:30, so it's all you can eat. So help yourself until that time, and we'll be getting started shortly.
How big of a banner? We can ask our code enforcement, check it out, shoot me an email.
Probably on Golden West. It's been there for a while.
Huh? Did you?
Oh, there it is. You have to push. I'm short, sorry.
Is the microphone there?
Yeah. I'm just gonna go around.
Ready? What are we showing tonight? What movie?
Toy Story 3 and a good Disney movie.
And a good Disney movie. My vote's Toy Story 3.
Toy Story
I'm
3.
gonna go here and watch
Oh,
it.
Ratatouille. We have Ratatouille.
Ratatouille. So Toy Story 3 or Ratatouille? And I'm sure you like to join the vote.
Yeah, you gave it to Mom, didn't you?
All right, are we ready? We should probably go and get people out here on time. All right. Let's do it.
Okay, folks, thank you for coming tonight. As you know, this is our third year doing the Neighborhood Watch program with a new design in the areas that we have broken the city up in. Before we get started, though, I want to recognize some of our council members that are here tonight. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to be doing what we're doing tonight. In the back, we have our Mayor Pro Tem Cara Bloom and Mayor Cynthia Sternquist. And then also we have our team that you'll be meeting. We have Deputy Adams, Sergeant Miranda, Deputy Cardella in the back, and Deputy Alvarez, which is in the kitchen, I think. And then we have our public safety staff, Chan Lim, Jillian Nunez, Freddie Reyes, and Viet Tran that are here as well. And so we're going to get started. We have a few presentations that we're going to start with, but at this time I'm going to have our Deputy City Clerk, Marilyn Bonus, come up here, and she's going to do some quick voter outreach and information.
Hi guys, good afternoon. I'm actually here to do a little bit of voter outreach. I'm here to help you guys fill out any of your applications if you need to update your signatures, if you need to do permanent vote by mail, or anything of that sort. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. So come see me, I'm back there. I have applications in 3 different languages. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to get started. Our first presentation tonight is going to be about community preservation, and we have one of our community preservation officers, Jillian Nunez.
Hi guys, thank you for coming. So we're just going to do a quick example of how community preservation, how that's related to crime, and how what we do and also what you do helps in that and takes part in preventing crime in itself. So let's get started with the community preservation PowerPoint. So just a recap on what did happen the last 2 years that we did do Neighborhood Watch. 2012, which was the first year that we did a Neighborhood Watch presentation, we transitioned from code enforcement to community preservation. And the reason for that is we wanted a more customer-driven approach to enforcing the code with the residents. We implemented PHASE, which stands for Focus Area Systematic Enforcement. That deals with courtesy notices that are placed on doors, little door hangers that notifies you or tenants of violations that are on the property that they may not know are there. Last year, in 2013, we introduced CEPTED, which is Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design, and we did explain the CEPTED methods and how those deter criminal behavior. So this year, we're doing something a little different than the last 2 years. In 1982, there was an article that came out in the Atlantic Monthly called Broken Windows. Has any of you heard of the broken windows theory? Some of you nod your head, shake your head, yes, but many of you haven't heard of what the broken windows theory is. So it was written by James Wilson and George Kelly, and it proposed an idea which outlined the nature of how crime spreads in our communities. This theory was successfully used in New York City in the 1990s in an effort to stop crime. So to give you an idea of what this theory is, consider an abandoned building. This building just sits there, deteriorating. Over time, the paint starts peeling, weeds start to grow. Pretty soon, someone comes by, sees no one cares about this building, picks up a rock, breaks a window. That window remains broken, unrepaired. One window leads to two, two windows leads to three. And eventually, the building gets broken into, squatters take up residence, they start lighting fires inside to stay warm. You have people that start doing drugs inside the building. Larger crime ensues. So what this one abandoned building has done is it's created fear. So it's a snowball effect. So if you fix those small things, you deter the big things. And that's what community preservation does. We fix those small things, such as broken windows, overgrown vegetation, peeling, chipping paint, abandoned vehicles, unsecured and abandoned properties. We even have a program for vacant properties which holds owners responsible. And what this does, it prevents blight, ensures proper maintenance, and protects the public from health and safety issues. So this is where you as Temple City residents can help by notifying the city, because the city is home to over 12,000 residential dwellings, and that's not including any of the commercial properties. So the residents notifying city staff, it helps us fix those small things so city streets and city properties won't look like this. Walls filled with graffiti. Or abandoned houses that are unmaintained. Or when you drive down an alley, you won't see inoperable vehicles that are abandoned, that are filled with graffiti. Does anyone know where this is? Yes. Can you tell me? Shout it out. 99-cent store. It's right behind the 99-cent store lot. It's the old Alpha Beta site, if some of you are familiar with that. Did any of you know there was a basement underneath that site? No one knows this. And I go to 99-cent store all the time. You know, Mary knows. But this whole vacant lot has a basement underneath that entire area. Can you imagine what's under there? It was just left unsecured. That's how we found it. Unsecured, open, the gate was cut, unsafe. So this is a perfect example of the broken windows theory in action. Someone dumps this couch. It's just one couch. This couch just sits there. No one picks it up. No one cares. Weeks go by and that one couch turns into a Christmas tree, another couch, other trash and debris that's not wanted in the city. So if we fix those small things, we deter those big things. Because preventing crime, it involves everyone. It involves you, Temple City residents, city staff such as myself. It involves the sheriff's department, because we want those higher property values. We want that quality of life. We want a desired area in which to live and raise our children, and those safer communities, safe schools, and clean streets. So areas like this that are left unsecured and forgotten are now secure and safe. Or houses like this that have fire damage in the rear, or doors left unsecure, off hinges, are now safe and secure. So please, if there's any questions, concerns, or comments that you may have, please notify the city. You can come in, talk to one of us, email us, or even call us anonymously. We're always willing to take any questions or concerns that you may have. Thank you for your time. I'll now be handing it over to Brian Arizumi, and he's going to be talking a bit more about emergency preparedness.
Okay, one of the things that we want to make sure is everybody's kind of prepared for whatever disasters come up. Who here heard about the earthquake day or two ago up in Northern California off the coast, the 6.9? There wasn't too much that came of that, but if that were on land in Northern California or if it was here in Southern California, that can do quite extensive damage. The Northridge earthquake was a 6.1, and so that kind of gives you the idea of what the magnitude of the earthquake and what damage it can cause. So one of the things that we want to do is make sure that the community is prepared to take care of yourself, and also that the city's prepared. And so we're going to talk briefly about what you can do to prepare yourself, your home, your family. The second packet that was handed out to you that has the emergency response team on the front, there's a lot of information contained in that packet. It talks to you about what's needed for a preparedness kit, what you need to have in the kit for home, work in the car, what you need to do for disaster family planning. And so there's a lot of information, more than I'm going to go over tonight, because I can talk for hours just about this subject, and unfortunately we don't have a lot of time to do that. And so what is preparedness? Ensuring that an organization or person has complied with the preventative measures to contain the effects of a disaster. And so we want to make sure that the city is prepared as well as the community. How is the city prepared? Well, one is we have a new emergency operations center. And for those of you that don't know what an emergency operations center is, it's basically our central command post, where if something happens in the city, that is where all the officials, the sheriff's department, the fire department, California OES, anybody that needs to be involved in the response and recovery for efforts of the city are going to be in there, so that all the decision makers are in one location. And to power that EOC, we have a backup generator. With the windstorm, everybody knows power goes out. If you don't have that backup generator, you're at the mercy of Edison waiting for them to restore the power. In a disaster, it may not be 3 days, 7 days. It could be weeks. It could be months without power. And so we want to make sure that we can sustain our operations to be able to support the community. We have a state of California and a federal government approved emergency operations plan. We have a state approved multi-hazard mitigation plan. And what that does is that identifies hazards and natural hazards within the community and ways that we can do, or what we need to do to mitigate or eliminate or try and reduce those potential hazards. We have an American Red Cross approved emergency shelter at Live Oak Park. And we have ongoing training for management and frontline staff. So this is just what we do on the city side. There's a lot more that we do as well for the community. This is just a kind of funny video just to get your attention kind of about emergency preparedness. Put the mic in.
All right, this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's gonna do what? I'll pack the dead batteries. Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'm trying to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
Waiting for you to do a list for us.
Thanks, Dad.
Well, I think we reading is prepared. We're out, guys.
So who here by a show of hands, that's our emergency operations plan for the household? Come on, you can be honest. Who has those batteries in their flashlight they haven't checked six years ago? Who has a case of water that's stored somewhere that's been sitting on the shelf for 3 years? You put that canned food in the garage or in your storage bin and it's been there for a few years as well. So you want to make sure that you're rotating some of the stuff out, and a lot of that information on how to do that and what you need to do is contained in that packet. And so in Southern California, our biggest threat is going to be an earthquake. And so these are the 7 steps to earthquake safety. and it's described in more detail in that packet. There's a lot of information contained within that packet. What you can do to prepare for a disaster. One is you want to develop a disaster plan, have disaster supply kits, do some hazard mitigation yourself. The city doesn't only do hazard mitigation, we want you to do it as well within your household, and attend training. Disaster plans, you want to develop a plan that will identify where you meet your family members. Do you have an escape plan out of your house? If you have an escape plan, do you have a backup escape route if that one identified route is blocked? You need to have alternate routes. Who is your out-of-state contact? Who here can tell me why it's important to have an out-of-state contact?
Because the lines will probably be down.
Correct. A lot of the phone lines locally, they're going to be shut down. It's not just because the earthquake took it out, but the phone companies shut down their service lines just to prevent an overload and from damaging their system. And so if you can get an out-of-state contact, if you have someone in Arizona, in Utah, their phone lines are not going to be severely hindered as they are in Southern California. So if you can get that one phone call to an out-of-state contact, and you have family members, hey, have you heard from Susie? Oh yeah, she's at the bowling alley and she said she was fine. She's going to be on her way home shortly. So they can be a point of contact for everybody to make sure that everybody's okay. What route and alternate routes will you use to evacuate your neighborhood? Do you have transportation? If you have transportation, do you have a backup plan if your transportation is no longer available? If your driveway's caved in or a tree fell across your car and your idea to evacuate was through your car, do you have a backup plan? You're going to be hiking out using your neighbor's car, finding some alternate means of transportation. And it's good and fine and dandy to have a plan, but if you don't practice your plan and exercise your plan, it's not going to do you any good because you're going to forget it. If you continuously practice it and exercise it, it'll become second nature. Here's an example of an escape plan. As you can see, this plan is very simple. You don't have to be an architect to draw it out. Just little boxes identifying where your exits are. This one went a little bit more. They identified the couches, the dining table, the kitchen sink. But you can see they identified the primary exit routes and the alternate exit routes. And again, just to make sure that they have ways to get out of the house if they need to. Disaster supply kit, just remember the rules of 3. You want to have 3 kits, one for your car, one for home, and one for work. Do you know or can you predict when a disaster is going to happen? Is it always going to happen when you're in bed at home, or is it going to be at work, or is it maybe when you're on the family vacation driving somewhere? You never know when it's going to happen, so you want to have something so that you're prepared for it if it does happen. You want to have 3 days of supplies per person. And then again, 3 categories of items within that kit. You want to have food, water, and utility items. Who here can tell me how many gallons of water or how much water one person needs per day to survive? Any of the CERT graduates in here? Mary? I know Lucy knows. So it's right here. You have water. You need 1 gallon of water per person per day. And that's for drinking, and that's also for hygiene, for potable water, brushing your teeth. And that's a lot. So if you have a family of 4 and you need to survive for 3 days, that's 12 gallons of water. Do you have 12 gallons of water at home to sustain you for 3 days? So you want to start to build up these supplies, and when you have water bottles that you buy at Costco or at the market, you can rotate them out every 6 months. Daylight saving times change, when the time changes, is a perfect time to rotate your water out if you don't do it on a regular basis. For families that have children that are in sports, put your stuff in the garage or wherever you have your supplies, keep it there for a couple of months. As you're rotating your stock out because your children are using it for the sports, replenish that supply so you have a constant rotation of items in your supply kit. Canned foods, MREs, which are meals ready to eat, food for infants, elderly, and other special needs, and comfort food. You don't want to have food that's going to be something that you don't even want to touch or eat. It's something that you want to be comfortable with and have to give you that nutrition and energy when you need it. Utility items, again, all these kits are going to be whatever you choose to put in that kit, whatever's going to be best suitable for your need. I don't have a need for glasses, but if someone wears glasses or contacts, they want to make sure they have an extra pair of glasses in there. You want to have tools, cash. Who here does not carry cash on them? There's some people that are just solely dependent on their debit card. If the power goes out, ATMs aren't going to work, and that's not going to help you to buy that item that you need in the store. Also, if you're carrying cash, you want to carry smaller denominations as well. Because if you go to a store and that water bottle's available, but you don't have change in that water bottle's $5, and all you have is a $100 bill, and they don't have change, if you really want that water bottle is now going to cost you $100. Anyone have gloves, blankets, medication? You can see the list, and again, it's in more detail in the packets that you have. Hazard mitigation, mitigation is the reduction of loss of life and property by lessening the impact of disasters. And that's a real technical term. In basic terms, it's any activity that prevents an emergency or reduces the effect of a hazard. And so as I stated with the city's hazard mitigation plan, we identify what those natural hazards are and we do what we can to lessen that impact of that hazard or try and eliminate that hazard. For you at home, some of the ways that you can do non-structural hazard mitigation is anchor heavy furniture. In an earthquake, that's going to fall over. Store heavy and breakable objects on low shelves. Secure appliances and office equipment. Locate and label gas, electricity, and water shutoffs. Who here doesn't know where their gas shutoff is or the water shutoff or their electrical panel is? That's something that you probably should know. Just in case something does happen and you need to shut off power to your house or shut off the water or the gas. And you want to make sure you secure your water heaters and have flexible gas lines. Besides making sure you do it, it's actually required by law, so you want to have that done. And child-proof your cabinet doors. It's not only to keep the kids out, but it's also to keep your items inside the cabinet. So if you have an earthquake, just be careful opening it because you have your dishes and your glasses that are leaning on the cabinet doors, so open it slowly. Training. Who here has heard of the Community Emergency Response Team training? Pretty decent crowd. I know there's a few people in here that have attended it. This is a 20-hour class that's been approved by FEMA, and it's a national curriculum, and it teaches the average citizen on emergency response and preparedness efforts. It is a great class. I'm an instructor for the class as well as some of my staff members. And we do teach it here in Temple City. It is a free class that we do offer. We may have a class coming up in the summer, and so we'll keep an eye out for information on that. If you are interested, we can take your information and add your name to an interest list, and once we do have that training available, we will notify you. As you can see, it's provided by Temple City staff, the Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department, and then once you graduate from the program, the city has an advanced CERT team. And what the Advanced CERT team is a team of volunteers that could supplement city forces, and you receive additional training, you receive specialized training, and you become part of the city's volunteer preparedness efforts and our emergency response team. Here's some photos from some of our recent CERT classes. You can see on the top picture, top left, the putting out a fire. Who's never used a fire extinguisher before? And who can tell me if you want to learn the first time that you're using it is when you have that kitchen fire that's starting to burn out. That's probably not the best time that you want to learn. As the fire is growing, you pull out the fire extinguisher, then you start reading the label. It says pull pin, and you're reading the label as that fire is getting bigger. That's probably not the best time that you want to learn how to do it. And so you want to, even if it's not part of the CERT class, try and learn it. You have the small fire extinguishers that are at Home Depot that you can buy for 20 bucks. If you have a lot of it that you use it quite often, they have the rechargeable fire extinguishers. And so it depends on what your use and your needs are. The bottom right picture is what we call cribbing. And it's using leveraging and fulcrums to lift heavy objects. With a crib like that, you have a team of individuals, whether they're male or female, that can lift 10,000, 20,000 pounds, enough to get a victim out of that, underneath that object. And here's just some more pictures from our CERT training. Again, it is a great program. If you want to know more about it, my staff is willing to talk about it. I know some of the members in here have attended it, and they continue to come back, and so I know that they are interested in it as well, so I'm sure they would not mind talking about the program. Some of the additional resources for emergency preparedness, these websites up there is where I go as the city's emergency manager. I go to these websites to get information on what I'm going to present to you and what information I need. You have ready.gov, the redcross.org, OES, which is a state website, ESP Focus has a lot of information on monthly publications, FEMA, which is the federal government, shakeout.org, and Earthquake Country Alliance. A lot of the information on these websites are contained in those packets. And one other thing that I would like everybody to do is, who here has heard of Nixle? Okay, Nixle's a public safety platform that allows public safety agencies to get information out in a short, quick manner. It's used by the Sheriff's Department, Arcadia PD, City of Temple City, other public safety agencies use it to get out. With this Nixle, we have a group set up specifically for the Temple City Neighborhood Watch. And if you text on your cell phone, TC Crime Watch to 888-777, you'll automatically enroll. It's a free service. All that you would have to pay for is the normal text messaging rates. If you want to know more about that, you can also visit nixle.com, and you can sign up through that website as well. And that concludes the presentation. So at this time, we'll have, we'll let him eat.
Okay, all right, just so everybody knows, this is Lieutenant Mark Stevens. He's with our department, the Sheriff's Department, and he's part of the Cybercrime unit. He's got a lot of great information for you. His presentation is going to be about 40 minutes, and then when he's done, we'll go over our material as well. Okay, so Lieutenant Mark Stevens. Thanks. How's everybody doing tonight? Good? Can everybody hear me okay? I'm not a microphone person. I've never really been told to speak up before. I've been told to shut up a few times. Thank you. In the public speaking arena, they say it's a quality public speaking voice. My wife calls it something else. We'll leave it at that. Again, my name's Mark Stevens. I'm a lieutenant with our Fraud and Cybercrime Bureau. I spent about 18 months, terminating last year, as the project director for the Southern California High Tech Task Force. Is a partially state-funded task force on cybercrime, identity theft, those types of crimes. I've been with the department for 31 years. I got to tell you, the cybercrime issue, the identity theft issue, fastest growing crime I've ever seen. Not just here in the States. This is a worldwide problem, and you know, the technology, it's really taken off quite a bit. That really is part of the problem. There's a worldwide exponential growth in technology that's taking place right now. We are at the bottom of the J-curve. It's now gone vertical, and it's going to continue to go up. The technology keeps advancing and advancing. Cybersecurity is trying to catch up. There hasn't been funding for local law enforcement anyway in order for us to investigate the crimes, and it makes it very difficult for us. So one of the things we're trying to do is trying to get the public aware and give you some tools and rules that you can take back with you so that you prevent yourself, your families, your businesses, your friends, and so forth from being victims. Who's a crook go after? Does it go after the difficult prey or the easy prey? Easy prey. Right? Okay, so let's get everybody in Los Angeles County educated and move them east. I say that in jest, though, because there's a lot there. This philosophy is actually starting to take off. We're starting to see it in more and more areas, and we need it to take off. The other issue here, massive use of computers. I was at a cyber conference just a couple of years ago, and they were putting out some statistics and talking about the cybercrime and how it's on the rise, and they got to the mobile devices. And they gave us a figure from either a year before that. So we're probably talking 2012 figure, that there's 2.5 billion with a B mobile devices on the streets. 2.5 billion. That's 2.5 billion endpoints into the network. 2.5 billion windows of opportunities for crooks to use. 2.5 billion tools for crooks to use. And let me tell you, the crooks, they are now using them, all right? Mobile phones, computers, texting, all those things are all being used to plan crimes, execute crimes, and get rid of the fruits of the crimes, right? They're selling their stolen merchandise on eBay and those types of sites. Craigslist, and so on. There's also an area of the internet that we call the deep web that you and I don't go to, which is also being used. The internet is not just the internet as we know it, HTTPS, www.whatever.com. There's areas of the internet that if you and I want to have a criminal operation, we can set up our own nodes, code them the way we want to code them, and the only people that can use them is our people. All right, and that's what the federal government spends a lot of their time on, that sort of thing. They took down, I don't know if anybody knew about the Silk Road. It was an underground, basically, auction list. It was a listing of all kinds of criminal activity, primarily narcotics. You could buy just about anything on there. The federal government took them down October 1st. They arrested the guy who was running the whole thing out of a small apartment in San Francisco. I think it was $2.8 million in commissions in 2 years he made on that site. In trafficking primarily drugs. But there's a lot of other things that take place on there too, weapons and that sort of thing. I put lack of government response to the issue. We're running behind, right? And our department has stepped up, and we're the first to say it. We are running behind. These are difficult to investigate. The technology is advancing very rapidly. In order for us to investigate, what do we have to do? We have to learn the technology, train our people, buy the equipment, right? Learn how to use it, and then there's the time that it takes to do the investigation. In addition to that, we have to train our patrol personnel, our station detectives and so forth, and the detectives throughout the entire department on how to preserve the evidence properly, because if it's not done properly, it can't be used in court anyway. And it creates all kinds of problems for us. And that's going to take some federal and state legislation to start throwing money down to the local agencies so that we can investigate when somebody steals the gold out of the golden years of a senior. Who gets hurt worse? A bank that loses a couple $100,000, or a retired senior who lost their $30,000 nest egg? Right? I mean, that's the way we look at it, and it's just absolutely devastating to us when we struggle trying to bring whoever the perpetrator was to justice. It's very, very difficult. The types of crimes that I'm going to talk to you about tonight: intrusions, that's the hacking and so forth, identity theft. You've heard a lot about these things, but I want you to think about some other things too. Corporate espionage, those types of issues. Intellectual property theft. And I know when I say that, a lot of you think, oh, music industry, Hollywood. But what about a major aerospace company just spent 3 years and several $1 million in research and development for some new prototype? Someone hacks into the system, steals that prototype, and winds up selling it to a company in a foreign country or something along those lines. That hurts the United States economy when that happens. Okay, when one of our major corporations takes that kind of a hit, that technology leaves our company so that somebody else can get it out first into the market. The U.S. economy suffers for that. It hurts all of us. It's a big issue. Medical identity theft. This is something that's come up real fast in the last year. All of our medical records are now digital. Now, I need to let you know, the medical industry does a very good job of protecting our information. They have to because of a federal law called HIPAA. Find somebody in the medical community, they can explain it to you, but basically that says if you allow somebody to get into somebody's medical record, you're liable, and it's a very expensive fine for each file that's been breached. No hospital wants to have to pay out that kind of a fine, and so they do a very good job of protecting our medical information. But think about this. Where's your insurance card? Are you protecting your medical insurance card like you would your Social Security card? I hope you are. Here's the scenario. I may not be a bad guy, but I got a real problem with my knee. I need surgery. I'm walking down the street and I find your medical identification card. Maybe I'm looking for it because it hurts so bad now I got to do something about it. My work doesn't provide me the medical insurance that I need. I haven't been able to get onto the federal website. Whatever the issue is, I need my surgery. So I find your medical information. I go to the doctor and I say, here, doc, my name's John Doe, not Mark Stevens, and I need this surgery. So they charge up the MRI, they do all that stuff, and they put it on your card after they put in a change of address, by the way, so all the information and so forth goes to some foreclosure down the street. And I get my surgery. But before that surgery, what do they ask me, right? Anesthesiologist is going to want to know what drugs I'm allergic to. They're going to want to know if I have prior surgeries, prior conditions, those types of things. And I'm going to tell them what I've got. Hey, yeah, you know, I had my appendix out, my spleen, I was in a traffic collision a couple of years ago, I had to have my spleen removed, and by the way, I'm allergic to this, that, and the other thing. Okay, I get my surgery, I leave, nobody knows anything. God forbid something happens, you wind up in a life-threatening situation in the emergency room. The doctor knows that he's got to give drug A in order to save your life. They go and they type drug A into your chart and it says, sorry, this person is allergic to that. Now you just slowed the doctor's ability down to take care of you, right? That's kind of scary. So again, protect your medical information. In fact, you need to protect all of your personal information, and I'm going to show you why. But on the medical side of it, tools and rules. I said I'm going to give you something to take with you. The rule is when you go in for your medical, your annual checkup, ask to see a list of all your doctor's appointments. Or contact your insurance company once every 6 months and ask them for a list of all of the insurance claims that have been filed on your insurance. And by doing that, you're going to be able to say, hey, wait a minute, treated for this, ABC in Las Vegas? I haven't been to Las Vegas, right? You're going to know there's a problem. Now you can go back, find out what was added to the chart there and get it fixed. All right, so you need to protect your information. Cyber ransom, CryptoLock or malware. This is a software that's it's a program, an executable program. Hacker gets it onto your computer. It usually has a countdown clock on it so that you won't know. Maybe it's through a phishing email, something along those lines. But they wind up getting that on your computer. And what that at a certain time it auto executes. It goes through and identifies critical files in your folders like My Documents, My Photos, client list, tax information, whatever it is. Drags it all into a folder and encrypts it. And then a little pop-up shows up on your computer that says, your computer has been encrypted, you will never get in, please send us X number of dollars, whatever they think they can get out of you, okay? And it's become a problem not only for businesses, but now it's becoming a problem for individuals. We're starting to get these types of complaints. And it'll usually say something along the lines, if you call the cops, you'll never see your information again. Tools and rules, right? Back up your critical files onto something that's not attached to your computer or your network. Simple. Loose media, flash drive, CD-ROM, whatever it is that you're going to put it on, an external hard drive, but save all of your critical files, right? So that you've got, and maybe even a mirror image that you have and you update it every week. That way you're only going to spend hours, maybe a day or two, putting your computer back together again. Instead of being down, a company was out of business for 56 days. Because they couldn't get to their stuff. They just couldn't get there. And it took them that long because they didn't properly back up their system and their backup was corrupted as well. Just back up the critical files. That way you can wipe the drive, reload your operating software, and then reload your critical files so that you get that malware off the computer completely. Child and adult exploitation, that's kind of self-explanatory. That's kind of another lecture, but the internet's being used for that on a regular basis. Identity theft basics. I want to tell you a little bit about identity theft. First of all, around the room, who knows somebody that's had their identity stolen and used? Anybody? I see a couple of hands. Okay, new question. How many of you know somebody who's had a credit card compromised? It's usually a few more hands go up on that. Okay? I had my credit card compromised 4 times in 18 months. Okay? And I teach this stuff. So it can happen to anybody. And the way one of them was really funny, the way one of them went down, I met my wife for a cup of coffee at Starbucks. I paid with the credit card. We sat down, we had our cup of coffee. I'm walking back to the car, my cell phone rings. Hi, this is a credit union, security, Visa, whatever it is. Do you have your credit card with you? Now again, I teach this stuff, right? So what am I thinking? Scam. Yeah, right, sure you are. Click. They called me back. No, Mr. Stevens, you don't understand. We just had this transaction. Call the credit union. Okay, so I call my credit union with the number, and sure enough, they say, yeah, you've got a hit. What had happened was somebody somehow got a hold of the credit card number, and 5 minutes after I swiped it in Whittier, it was swiped in Ithaca, New York at a Walmart to buy a $750 TV set. Okay? And I'm going to show you how fast this can happen, and again, tools and rules. But for identity theft basics, shred absolutely everything that has your personal information on it if you don't absolutely have to have it. And then everything else lock up someplace in a safe place. Fireproof safe, filing cabinet, something like that so that it's all together. Your taxes, everybody keeps tax records and that kind of thing. If you're keeping your tax records in a digital format, make sure it's on loose media in a file someplace, not actually stored on your computer. But shred everything. Protect all of your personal information. Protect your mail. I give you to tell you how bad it is, right? This is how paranoid I am, all right? But I get paid to be paranoid. That's Lieutenant's job. I actually tear the cover of the penny saver off that says resident with the address, because that address is part of my profile. And I shred that. I shred the cover. I throw the rest of it into the into the recyclables and that sort of thing. But I don't throw my mail with my address. If it's got my name, my address, anything on it, it gets shredded. And I don't even get bills at home anymore, because mail theft statistically is more of a problem than cyber-related intrusion. But protect your mail. Make sure that all passwords, first of all, you need to have a password that's long and complex for every account, and every account needs a different password. All right, I'm going to show you why in a few minutes, but you want to make sure you have a different password for each account. And the password needs to be long and complex, at least 8 to 10 characters, capital letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and special symbols. Exclamation points, dots, colons, that kind of thing. You need to make sure that you have all of those in that passphrase, and that there's no spaces in between, because you don't want to be able to pick off words out of the dictionary, that sort of thing. So my dog spot should look something like lowercase m, uppercase y, D-O-G, $ for S and spot. You see where I'm going with that? You want to break it up. You don't want it to have, especially English language words, because the United States is the most attacked country in the world. And we've got proof of that. There's more attempts on hacking in the US than any other country in the world. You want to have a different password for each one of your accounts, and report every incident of cybercrime, identity theft, credit card fraud, anything that comes up. Call the station and get a report for that, because we need to know about it. We look for a lot of things when we go through these reports. We may not be able to find a bad guy, but we'll find trends, and we feed some of this information to IC3, Internet Crime Complaint Center, and they put together statistics, and they do investigative work too at the federal level. There's a lot of things that the information from those crime reports does. Card skimmers, I talked a little bit about credit cards. Everybody knows somebody that's been breached. But the primary way, this isn't Target. Target didn't work this way, and I'll tell you a little bit about Target in a minute. But the card skimmer issue is a real big one, okay? They are in gas pumps. They're at point of sale terminals. They are in the hands of individuals, and I'm going to show you what they look like. ATM cards versus credit cards, again, tools and rules. Never hand your Visa debit card or ATM card to anybody unless you absolutely have to. Just don't. Here's the reason why. The law says that if a credit card issuer issues you a credit card and your credit card gets compromised and used somewhere, they have 24, 48 hours, I don't remember which one it is, but they have to put that credit back on your card while they do the investigation to find out what happened. Okay? If you've been compromised, they're going to do their investigation and come back and say, yeah, you were compromised, and you're going to get your money. All right? But a credit card company has to put it back on your credit card now, and that's Visa's money. When your ATM card gets compromised, that money comes right out of where? Your checking account or your savings account if you use an ATM card on a savings account. Whose money is that? And guess who eats it until the investigation is completed? Those investigations, because of the just raw numbers, are now 6, 8, 10 weeks. I don't know about you, but I can't go with a zero balance for 10 weeks. It just doesn't work in my life. So don't hand your ATM card to anybody, and only use your ATM card at reputable ATMs after someone's called the police because they thought you were tampering with the ATM. Okay, and I'll explain that to you in just a minute when I say that. But this is what these card skimmers look like. This is a gas pump card skimmer. That circuit board is about 1.5 inches by about 3/4 of an inch in size, with a little wire tether on either end. And you can see, I don't know how well this laser pointer works. You see it's got a red end, and then it's got this black end on the other side. This is what it looks like when it's installed in the gas pump. You can see the little red one is now plugged into the circuit board where this plug was unplugged from, and then this is plugged into the other end. They wrap it in electric tape or heat shrink or whatever it is, and they close the machine. Now here's the deal. Most of these gas pumps, they're keyed almost alike. If you got a key for one, you got a key for like 1/3 of them. All right? This is how long it takes to install one of these. They put the key in, they open it up, they pull open the little door where the little credit card thing is and the reader, They open it up, and on the back is that little green board. Unplug, plug, plug, close. 15 seconds. It's installed. All right? They don't have to go back to get it. It's Bluetooth enabled. All right? And some of this Bluetooth is like 1,000 feet as long as it's line of sight. So they don't even have to go back to the gas pump to download the information to the computer. They just set up the computer. It links up. They park the car at the gas station, go in, get a soda, talk to somebody inside, shop, do whatever it is that they're going to do. Walk out, okay, they've downloaded all that credit card information, let's go off to the next gas station. And they make their rounds once a day, and they sell the accounts for up to 10 bucks an account. Hundreds, think about it, hundreds of credit cards, 10 bucks a piece. And they sell them in bulk. It's really gotten that bad, okay? But that's the way the credit card scammers work. Some of them are actually deeper in. Now remember I said only use a reputable ATM after somebody's called the police because you were tampering with the machine. This is an actual card reader on an ATM. I'll try and move around here so I'm not blocking anybody's view. This one here, this is what they look like. This is a cap that fits over this. This is what it looks like when they're separated. This is what it looks like when it's there. When you pass the card through, the reader, the skimmer picks it up, then the regular reader, so the ATM works properly. Okay? This is typically what it looks like when I go and I put my ATM card in a bank ATM machine. I walk up to the machine, I look in the machine, I jiggle the machine, I put my foot on the wall and I pull as hard as I can. Someone's going to call, right? I promise you, with my bare hands, I cannot break an ATM. They're more secure than that. If it comes off, it's because it's a skimmer. All right? And I'm certain that people have called on me because I'm yanking on these things as hard as I can. All right? But that's where I go to use it because I don't want my ATM card compromised. But that's what these readers look like. And this is a hand reader. Note that it is much smaller than a cell phone. And these readers are legal. They're used for legitimate purposes at trade shows. Anybody heard of the square, the cube you put on top of your phone and swipe a card, all those things? All of them can be taken apart and modified. I can take this device, I can flip it over, put another board on the back, a couple of buttons, so that I've got a play and record button, place it in my little smock at fast food or at a restaurant or whatever it is. You hand me your card, that'll be $9.50 please. Thank you very much. A little sleight of hand like a magician, just a little flick of my wrist to draw your eyes away as I pull it out of my smock. As I turn around, I push record, swipe the card, drop it right back into my smock. I now own your credit card information. I go to the real machine, swipe it, bring it back. Here's your food. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. You walk out. If I'm the bad guy, I lean over and I motion to my friend. He brings me $150 and an old driver's license, old credit card, card key for a hotel, anything with a mag strip. I take that from him along with the $150. I put the $150 in my pocket. I take the card key. I press play, swipe the card. I've now handed him your credit card, and before you're out the driveway, they have your credit card. And now they're out buying gas, buying food, wherever they can go where ID's not going to be asked for, they're using your card. Happens that fast. And guess what? I can sell your card to several people. Right? And until the computer picks up on the fact that this gas station and that gas station are 5 miles apart, and I just spent $50 filling up the gas tank at both those gas stations a minute apart, now the computer may say something and it'll turn the card off. But think of how much money, if I'm working fast food, how much money I could make with your credit, with that tool and all the people that are coming in at $150 a whack. Pretty good, huh? So how long do I have to work there? 3 to 5 days, and I can take a couple of months off, right? Probably living in mom and dad's house in the basement. Anyway, this is why you don't hand your ATM card to people, because it can happen that fast. Cybersecurity basics. I'm going to kind of shift this from the credit cards and the identity theft to the computers. Okay, and this is really where we got a problem. All right, the technology's gone real fast, as I said before. Security hasn't caught up with it. Here's the deal. All right, now let me ask everybody: who thinks it's a good idea for a child to have a computer in their bedroom? Other than the children in it. Okay. Just remember, right? Nobody thinks that that's a good idea. Keep that in mind, okay? The first rule is you need to make sure your network is secure. When I talk about a network, I'm talking about your cyber fence. How secure is your cyber world? The weakest link in your fence, or the weakest link in your fence, is how strong it is. All right, I can tell you right now, and again, I teach this. In my cyber fence, I am the weak link. Okay, that's all there is to it. I'm the weak link. Whoops, I think I got myself ahead of myself here. I'm the weak link because if I don't keep my antivirus software updated, if I don't do the updates on the other software and so forth that's there, I am allowing holes in my system. Okay? Every one of us has been sitting at that computer typing that ever important email to brag about our kids, or to read something that was sent to us, or we're working on something for work, and that little annoying box pops up, kind of locks up your computer for a second that says, you haven't done a scan on your computer for X number of days, right? And we keep on hitting that delay button, right? Well, here's the deal. When you hit that delay button, you are delaying the closure of a hole that's in your computer that's been identified by the manufacturer. Okay? What hackers do is anything that can be engineered can be reverse engineered. Okay, and what the hackers do is they play with these programs and they find security breaches in the software. That if that software is on your computer, they can use that to get into the computer. Okay? Well, when they find it, they post it on the hacker bulletin boards for all hackers to see, especially if it's an organized group like Anonymous or Malsec or one of those who've got an agenda, so to say. All right? Well, the software company finds out about it because they have their own informants and so forth that'll call them and tell them. And they say, oh, sure enough, we have a hole. Let's plug it up. And they make what's called a patch. Then they push that patch out in their update. If it's a big hole, it'll push it out immediately. If it's a small hole, most companies push out their updates once a week because they don't want to annoy us too much with that little box in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. It's terrible. All right? But here's the deal. If you don't close that hole on your computer, you are leaving yourself open and susceptible to the hack. Okay, so make sure your antivirus software is updated. Make sure that your software is updated. You need to make sure that your passwords, I already talked about that. You have a different password for each account, all right? And that they're long and complex passwords. And then you need to watch out for loose media. And I'm going to talk about it for just a second, but real quick, before somebody asks a question, I'm going to answer it. How do you keep track of all those passwords? I have over 40 online accounts. Each account has a different password. Each password is changed every 6 months with daylight savings time. I just went through and changed them. It took me about 2 hours. Okay, but here's the deal. If I don't do that, I'm the weak link, right? Every password's different. How do you keep track of that? Well, I have my way. All right, mine is all in a spreadsheet. I have that on a flash drive. When I pay my bills, I plug that flash drive in. It gives me all the. But here's the thing about my passwords. They're all written in Mark's own special shorthand. Okay? And here's the deal. I got about 25 or 30 things that only I know about myself. I know the name of the very first dog I had when I was 4 years old, got hit by a motorcycle. I'll never forget that dog's name. Okay? I know the name of the very first manager I had where I worked. Right? So if it says dog, I know that dog's name. You could hand my password list to my wife and she'd be clueless. She would not be able to get in. In fact, it concerns her greatly. But that's how I do it. But here's something to think about. How do hackers get into your computer? Electronically, right? Do they know where your list is in your house? No. So just write all your passwords down. Find a book or someplace, you know, the fourth book on the second to the top shelf in the left-hand bookcase. Wherever it is that you're going to put it, stick it there. What are they going to do? Break into your house to look for your passwords? It's not going to happen. So just that way you hear about these password lockers and all this other kind of stuff. If I'm a hacker, I wish you had a password locker because then I only got to break one code to get to all of them. Kind of makes sense? Okay? So anyway, you figure out how you want to do it, but you should have a different password for each. Loose media. Loose media is anything that's not permanently attached to your system. That's flash drives, SD cards for cameras, portable hard drives, CD-ROMs, DVDs. All of those things are what we call loose media. Okay? Tools and rules. If you don't know where it came from, don't put it in your computer. Okay? You're walking along at work, you see a flash drive on the ground, oh, I wonder who that was, somebody must have dropped it. Plug it into the computer to try to find that memo. All right? That is exactly how the largest government hack known happened. Bot was loaded onto a handful of flash drives, They threw them over the fence into the secured employee parking lot. Employees pick them up, trying to be the good guy, went and plugged them into the computers, uploaded the bot. The bot calls out outside the millions of dollars of front-end security they have. Now the computer calls me, the hacker, right, if I'm the hacker. So their computer calls me, my computer sends a message to their computer, puts in a password sniffer, and then it tweaks something in the computer so the computer doesn't work right. Person walks in, they go to log into their computer, now I have their password because I have a password sniffer, right? And the computer doesn't work right, so what do? They call the IT department. They send the system administrator down. System administrator enters a system administrator password, right? Now I've got the system administrator password. Facility closes down, I go in, I get into the Superdome at 7 o'clock in the morning, the whole facility goes dark. Ooh. Turned off the computer and messed it up so it wouldn't work. That's what they did. That's simple. So if you don't know where it came from, don't put it in your computer. If you absolutely have to know what it is, get yourself a computer you don't care about, take it offline, plug it in, and if you don't find anything, then you wipe your drive and you start over again. I got a sandbox. We got a sandbox in the office. That's what we do. We have stuff that's suspicious or we have something, we'll make a duplicate of it. We'll plug it in to see what it does to a computer. And we got special software that tracks it. And it'll say it opened up this executable file, which changed this and this and this. And we've got this big long list of things that we print out. It'll tell us what that flash drive did. But then every time we use it, we have to wipe the drive, and then we have to start over again and reload all the software. And a wipe is not a format. A wipe is a wipe. It's different. Every computer file has ones and zeros in it. The first digit is a 1, the second, or a 0. If the first digit's a 1, it's an active file telling the operating system, don't overwrite this. A deleted file, all it does is change the first digit from a 1 to a 0, but the file is still on the drive, right? All it's telling the operating system is when you run out of room, you can overwrite this. Well, typical box coming off the shelf right now is about a terabyte, terabyte and a half. If you're not like a power user, you won't even use that whole hard drive for 6 months. It'll take that long before you use enough of the drive that it'll have to actually overwrite the files. That's how we find stuff on computers after it's been deleted. We have software that turns all the zeros back into ones, and then we have all the files. It's a very simple process. It's just very, very time consuming to do it. But anyway, loose media, phone Wi-Fi. Now here, remember I asked, who thinks it's a good idea for children to have a computer in their bedroom? Nobody raised their hand. What is a smartphone? Yesterday's supercomputer. And let me tell you something. Your smartphone is in fact a computer. It will often do more than a desktop computer. It operates not on one network, Wi-Fi. It operates on Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 4G, right? There's several different, it'll do more than the desktop computer. It will access the internet. It will access all of those websites. People have access to it. And let me ask you this question. If you have an Android or Windows phone, do you have antivirus software on it? I can promise you right now, less than 10% of the people, or less than 90% of the people in this room don't have it. Or more than 90% of the people in this room don't have antivirus software on their smartphone. It's a computer, okay? That is a supercomputer he's holding in his hand. To give you an idea, that computer has thousands of times the computation power and thousands of times the memory of the entire room of computer that landed Neil Armstrong on the moon. That's true, okay? The system that was in the actual lunar lander that set down on the moon, that operated on a 64K system. Do you remember the Commodore 64? Much higher quality, but same principle, okay? You've got gigahertz of processing power, gigahertz of memory in that handheld computer. It's yesterday's supercomputer, okay? So, smartphones require the same parental controls as computers because a smartphone is nothing but a computer. Somebody had a hand up?
What antivirus would you suggest for Windows or Android phones?
I won't go there, and I'll tell you why. The stuff changes all the time. I do know this. The major manufacturers of antivirus software make antivirus software for almost every cell phone format that there is, whether it's ice cream sandwich, Windows-based, Android, whatever it is. It's out there. What you need to do, Google your antivirus software for whatever kind of phone it is, with that operating system, and you can find a list and then do some research to find out. Because I can tell you, company A makes better software for this phone than that phone, and company B is the other way around. You just kind of have to read the reviews to figure out which one you want to go with. So, and some people, they're fans of a particular antivirus software, and that's what they always go with. But there's a lot of them, and there's actually some free ones out there. Free, okay? My parents taught me a long time ago that nothing is free, okay? So, you know, I kind of hesitate with that, but I also know that there are organizations out there that manufacture this stuff because those organizations are trying to fight cybercrime. So, again, you have to do your research. Home networks. All right, now, everybody goes to work, and you know, whether you work for the city or a private company or whatever it is, aerospace, they spend a lot of money on security of their computers and trying to protect their business computers. However, I asked this question at a major aerospace company a couple of times. I've been doing these presentations for them. How many of you have your home your home network as secure as your work network? And the answer to that question is nobody. All right? And this is what happens oftentimes. People go out, they buy a router, they got their wireless computer, and they have their 13-year-old set it up. Or they work their way through it and muddle through until it works, and they go, hey, I got it working, I succeeded, wow, I feel good about myself. They pat themselves on the back. But they don't read about security, okay? And if I'm a hacker and I'm driving down the street with my computer, and I'm just watching to see which service set identifiers pop up, that's the name of the router, and I see Linksys, or I see Verizon, or I see Netgear, or any one of a number of other companies, that tells me two things. It tells me what kind of router you have, which is a really good start for me if I'm a hacker. And it also tells me that you haven't changed all the default settings in that router, which means if it says Linksys, the administrative password is probably admin1, which is the default password for a Linksys router. So if I'm a bad guy and I've got stolen credit card information and I want to buy a TV set online from a company, I go and park in front of somebody's house whose system that I can get into. I log onto their system. Maybe I want to even get into their system, so I go in and I change all that stuff. I can go in and change the administrative password, and now I own the router. If I own the router, eventually I'm going to own all the computers that it's attached to. Okay? But I park out in front of the house and I use your router, and I go and I buy it with that stolen credit card, and I have the whatever it is that I buy delivered to the foreclosure down the street via UPS. Right? So your IP address was used to buy it. So when law enforcement serves the search warrant, they get your IP address, not my IP address, because I'm covert and no one's going to catch me, right? I used a stolen credit card and I purchased a TV and I had it delivered down the street at a foreclosure. And then I can track that package, right, to find out when it's going to be delivered. And I know that Tuesday between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, UPS is going to drop it. So at 1:45, I pull up down the street with my binoculars, UPS pulls up, the driver runs up, does the door knock, sets it down, runs back to his truck, gets in, drives off, I drive up, I go pick up my package, throw it in the car, and I'm going to win. So what does law enforcement have to work with? Let's see, I got a foreclosure, I don't know who was there, and I've got your IP address. Now we know that this is happening, so we won't come kick your door just because we got your IP address. Okay? But you see where the problem is? So you want to secure your home network, but not only for that, what if you're a target? And you have to kind of ask yourself, am I a big enough target to even worry about this? Okay, well my answer is yes, but to what extent? Okay? Now if you're in executive management for an aerospace company, you are a target. Okay? If you're an executive in a bank, you are a target. All right? Here's the deal. If I can get into your home network because I know that you work at a bank and I want to get information about that bank, I know that everybody uses their cell phones at work and they use the work network, right? So it goes back and forth. Well, if I can get into your home system and then I can get into your phone and I can put stuff on your phone so that when you go to work, it'll load that phone. See where I'm going with this? It's like the flu. Each network that it connects to can get infected. And that's the way it can work. I'm not saying that this happens all the time. What I'm saying is it happens. Okay, so we need to be careful with our handheld computers. We need to make sure that our home network is secure. These 4 things up here. You want to change your SSID, that's the name of the router, so it doesn't say Linksys or Netgear or Verizon or whatever it is. Spy, barbecue, tools, whatever it is you want to call it, doesn't matter. It shouldn't have your name attached to it, and it shouldn't have your business name attached to it, and it shouldn't have anything to do with what type of router it is, because you don't want to give any information up. Change all of the default settings. Administrative password, you want to put a login password that's encrypted, not WEP, W-E-P. If it says WEP, it's not encrypted. If your router won't give you anything else that's tooled, it's time to get rid of it. Go buy another one. You can buy them for about 35, 40 bucks now. And I'm talking about with WPA2, some type of encryption that's going to work. But you want to make sure your password's encrypted. And MAC address filtering, if you really need security, every electronic device has got a MAC address. You can actually put all those MAC addresses into your router's framework or your firmware, and by doing that, your router won't talk to other devices. Okay? Is it totally 100% secure? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think any network is 100% secure. But by doing these things, and you can do, if you just have user ability, you can muddle your way through this. You just get the instructions and follow the instructions and go through, and you'll figure it out. Okay? But if you do those 4 things, the hacker's not going to spend any time on your network, because it's just, why do that when there's 100 of them or 1,000 of them out there that are easy to get into? So that'll help to secure your network. Phishing, I mentioned this when I talked about the hacker getting in and putting a bot on the computer at work or whatever. But phishing, spear phishing, harpooning, whaling, they're all the same thing. It's an email that you receive in hopes that you'll click on a link that will take you back to the hacker's computer. That's all it is. Okay, so phishing is just general to everybody. Spear phishing is targeted to an entity. It might be to an individual. It might be to a company. It might be to a government entity, and that's where they send the email just to those employees. Okay, harpooning, whaling, right? That's the big fish. That's the CEOs, your elected officials. That's that kind of thing. That's what they would call harpooning. That's the terminology, but it's all the same thing. It's simply an email that looks legitimate that will entice you into clicking on something. This is an email, this is an actual phishing email that was sent to a county employee. Okay? It looks like a legitimate Bank of America screen, login here. But you see, this is the login screen, and up here it says sign in. Why would you click the sign in button if it's already up? That's the hint, right? There's a mistake in this. But any one of these blue things down here with a link, your cursor changes to the little finger so you can click on it. Okay? Every one of those links was the same, taking it to just an IP address. It's like 176.200.0.0. That's all it took you to. Okay? And it was a phishing email looking for information. Probably what they're looking for in this, they want you to enter your online ID and password so that they can get into your bank account. This one appears to come from American Express. Again, it's a phishing email. I really like this one. It's kind of, you can set limitations on your credit cards and so forth. It says spending activity since your last statement close date has reached the notification amount that you set for the account. This was actually, it says that the transaction was on August 2nd. This was received on a county computer on August 3rd. Actually, it's one of our executives. But anyway, most recent charge approved, $2,520 yesterday. So what do you think the person does? I don't do that. What is this? View recent account activity. Click. They don't even think. They just click, and now they're dialing my computer. Right? So now I'm going to send them a screen. Please log into your account. Right? You can see where this is going. I really like this one. This one appears to have come from a friend. I hope this email finds you well. Kindly log on to view the document I uploaded using Google Doc. Click here to download the document. Okay? Sounds legit. It looks like it came from a friend, right? It's got lots of email addresses. Some of them I'll probably recognize because what that was generated by a worm that went into the computer, got into the contact list. So now I can send an email to all of your friends. I can send them whatever I want, including a phishing email like this. When you click here, this is what popped up. Please provide your email address, username, and password. Oh, and by the way, confirm your password for me, right? And remember I said you need a different password for every account? If I'm the hacker, this is what's going to happen. You send me this information, the first thing I'm going to do, my computer's going to tell me, cha-ching, you just made money, right? I'm going to go to the computer, I'm going to log into your email as fast as I can, I'm going to change your password and all of your challenge questions, locking you out. So now you can't get in. I'm going to change your secondary email address. I'm going to change everything on that account. And then while you're frantically trying to figure out why you can't get into your account, I'm going to go and read all your email. I'm going to find out where you bank. I'm going to find out if you have accounts anywhere and everywhere, right? And then because you have the same username and password, I'm going to empty all those accounts, and I'm going to transfer all that money to a bank in a foreign country that doesn't have a treaty with the United States. And guess what? You're not getting that money back. And the bank's not going to give you the money back because your password was used to make the transfer. That's what's scary. But that's why you need to have a different password for every account. Okay, and your passwords need to be long and complex, etc., etc. Now, I know I'm scaring everybody, but I gave you the tools and rules. How strong is your fence? I'm my weakest link, right? Mobile phone safety. I touched on this. That mobile phone, it's a computer. But here's the deal, and this is something that I want people to understand. A smartphone's a computer, it needs antivirus. I talked about that. Online surfing, you go onto websites that aren't solid websites, you can get infected, right? They can get a virus or bot something loaded on there. Smartphone apps. Remember what I said? Nothing's free. My dad told me nothing in life is free. If you're downloading a free app, I promise you, whoever developed the app is getting something for it. Some kind of information. If it's a legitimate application for that phone, there's something in the user agreement that you clicked on saying, okay, I agree, that's giving them access to something on that phone. So anytime you download an app, you need to make sure that you read the user agreement and that you can live with those terms. Terms like, our company will activate your audio and video without telling you. Skype, okay? That's actually in your thing, right? Now, what Skype means by that, okay, because I don't want to badmouth Skype, right? What they mean by that is, they're not going to ask you every time they turn on the camera, because when you click on it, their software is going to have to do it. But on smartphones, basically, your smartphone, especially an Apple or a Droid that has the right antivirus software, is going to automatically ask you, hey, do you want to do this? My software is set up, it does it anyway, no matter what. I've got my computer so locked down that it's actually a hassle, even when I'm going to do an upgrade. Do you want to do this upgrade? It'll actually ask me that, okay? But that's the problem. Now, here's the deal. You hand a youngster a computer. Hey, look at this new app. They're at school, right? Hey, check this out. I saw one that was really cool. I know it must have been downloaded by the millions. You bring up a picture, you touch on the picture, and this little cartoon bomb comes in and blows up on whatever it is you touch, right? Cute little app. Probably made up by some 13, 14-year-old computer whiz who thought it was cool and it spread like wildfire. Now, whether there's an intentional flaw in that application, I'll never know. Whether or not there's a hole in the application, I won't know until we find out about it later, but I will tell you a story. Everybody has flashlight on their smartphone, right? Now, there was a version. Don't get all panicky, right? Because a version doesn't mean your version, and this was several years ago. But there was a version of flashlight, we believe we have exterminated it throughout the world, that if somebody had your phone number and you had that particular flashlight application on your phone, the person could go into your phone, turn on your audio and your video, and watch and listen to everything real time. That's scary. To me, that's very scary. Okay? It got taken down. There were all kinds of notices. This is 4 or 5 years ago. But do keep in mind that every time you load an app on the phone, you load a potential hole, right? It's like all those little screens that pop up in the right-hand corner. They're finding out they got a hole in their system. They fix it. They put a patch on it. Apps aren't updated the same. Now, if you've got an Apple phone and you're getting stuff from the Apple Store, every app that goes through the Apple Store goes through Apple's R&D. The research and development people go through it. It's at least screened, okay? Apple's not perfect. Nobody's perfect, okay? But at least it's been secured. If you're using a Droid or a Windows-based phone, it's the Wild West, folks. It really is. Because there's not a lot of research being done on it. So before you download an application, make sure you do some research on it first. Google it. Problems with, whatever the name of the application is, and see if there's problems with it before you download it. Social media and metadata, I'm going to talk about these for a couple of minutes. Social media, especially with kids. Social media is now being used extensively for what we call social engineering. Social engineering is basically getting somebody to do something that they wouldn't normally do, right? Enticing children to parks, getting people to send money someplace that they get them enticed into the point where they feel like, hey, I gotta at least try this. I got another one of those emails saying that I had to contact the donor because some major donation had been made for whatever community service that I'd done someplace. And you know, I actually do some community service in various places, and it sounds really good. I know that's a phishing email, right? So I just delete it. And speaking of that, tools and rules, right? Don't click through your email. You get an email notification from your bank, close the email, open up your bank thing, and log in the front side. I forgot to say that, now I've said it. Back to the social media. Social engineering, that's getting people to do things that they don't want to do, right? And social media is used for cyberbullying and all that other kind of stuff. The manipulation of especially junior high school and high school kids. They're a little bit more susceptible than most people because of the peer pressure and so forth that's going on. It needs to be monitored. And let me tell you something, and I know some of you kids in here are probably going, why is he saying all this? Let me but I want to clarify something. We can't take these electronic devices away from our kids. We can't do it. And the reason why is real simple. If they don't know how to use these devices, by the time they graduate high school, they will be so far behind the curve they won't be employable. Colleges and universities right now are saying that they are teaching people now for jobs that don't exist yet. And freshmen that are taking IT classes now are learning things that will be obsolete by the time they graduate. That tells you how fast that technology is growing. If we don't allow our kids to use the computers, the tablets, the phones, and all this other kind of stuff to keep up, they won't be able to keep up. And it's going to cripple their ability to get jobs when they get out of school. So you have to find that balance. But as parents, it's our responsibility to see to it that we're monitoring it the way we need to. Okay? One last word on social media and metadata. Metadata is the data about the data. Every computer file has metadata attached to it. Okay? If you right mouse click in a Windows system on a file and go to properties, it will tell you when the file was created, when the file was last updated, and when it was last modified, right? All that stuff there. That's part of the metadata. Okay? Photographs also have metadata, like GPS coordinates. This software is called PhotoLinker. It's great software. If you go on a vacation, you take pictures, you see a picture, oh, where was that? Because you want to be able to tell somebody who's going to go. You open the picture up on this side, uses the GPS coordinates that are in the metadata, puts a red dot on the map. Think about Susie having a slumber party. It's 10 o'clock, right? They're taking pictures of it. Hey, we're at Susie's house. We're out. And they're sending these pictures out via text. They're sending them out to email. That metadata is attached. That picture's in cyberspace forever. If I'm a child predator, I got the GPS coordinates. How many times have we heard the kid's been taken out of the house while mom and dad were home? That's what I'm saying. We've got to watch what's going on. Now, the social media sites, they've got metadata scrubbers. Most of them, Facebook I know for sure has it, which scrubs that information off the photograph so that they download the picture, they're not going to be able to use it. But we need to be aware of that. We need to check our settings. We need to make sure that the phones are secure, that we have the phones secure and so forth so we can protect the kid. Questions? That's my pitch. You have a question?
Yeah. I attended a seminar last year about K9, some free filtering system for kids. As a parent, recommended program.
Right.
So that kids could get to certain internet sites.
Right.
We tried it. We downloaded it and we tried it. And it was just so cumbersome. We couldn't get to anything we wanted to get to.
I don't know about I don't know anything about that software.
Do you have any recommendations for that type
Your operating system has parental controls in it. Your router has parental controls in it. You can actually go into your router, your wireless router, and block entire websites. You can block websites by keyword. There's all kinds of ways to do it. But yeah, if you get online, go to Google, it'll bring up all kinds of different software. But Before you download any software on your computer, make sure that you research it, that there's no problems with it. Yes?
Received a visa statement yesterday, looked it over, and there were 3 bonus entries on the visa statement. Called Bank of America, they took care of it, wrote the credit. Did I understand that you want
Yes.
this reported?
We need to know about it. And you might have somebody show up at the door that says, well, what kind of card was it? Visa. They give you your money back? Yeah, well, they're the victim. Here's my card with the call number on it. Ask for a report. I want the file number. And we're in the process right now of training our deputies. The department-wide, there's a push right now. We've got new field ops directives. There's a whole bunch of things that's coming down right now so that our field personnel, I'm telling you this, and then somebody comes out and there's a conflict. Give them the card. You can call into the station and say, hey, I need a report. I actually need a report now. We need to capture that statistic. And the IC3 needs to know about it as well so that they can keep track of the statistics and we can look for commonalities in the problem. I know I'm out of time. I'll hang around. I've got some rosters up here. If you want to put your name and email address on here, we've got a newsletter that's going to be going out shortly, and then it'll be coming out quarterly to start, and then hopefully it'll be a monthly newsletter soon. But if you leave your name and email on this, I'll get you on the list. Hopefully we'll get that first letter out soon. I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, Mark.
I'm done.
All right, so I've got a phone here I'm giving up. All right, because I'm too scared to use it now. And my debit card is the only card I really use, so I'm going to cut it up. That I can give you, because I can't afford to give that to you.
I'll take it off.
There you go. But you're not going to use it though, right, Mark?
Oh, no.
So a lot of
sell it.
Yeah, exactly. You make more money doing that anyway, right? Okay, so Jillian wants to talk to you real quick. We're just getting set up for some audio here, and then I'm going to get going, and we're going to get you out of here by 7:30.
Okay, so it's loud. I'm gonna pass around the evaluation forms in just a few minutes as soon as Rick gets started so you can fill them out. We're giving away a couple prizes, so if you fill out the evaluation forms, you'll get a raffle ticket and maybe you'll win a prize. And then also, if you look over here to your right, you'll see the neighborhood watch line, the new one that we have just made. A lot of these have been put in this area. Not on all the streets what the city is hoping and aiming for, but they have been put on a lot of the major streets. So maybe some of you have seen them as you're driving by. Rick? I'm going to turn it back to Rick. Thank you.
Thanks, Jillian. Can you get it set when he's done? Okay. All right, so Martin wants to say a couple words, about a minute. Martin's one of the area leaders that we have, as well as Lucy. Can you wave your hand, Lucy? Martin? Just so everybody knows, we meet once a month for an hour from January through October, the area leaders. These are folks that do more than just show up for the meetings. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, they can tell you more about it, and I can tell you more after the meeting, okay? But basically, our area leaders kind of direct the way our program's going to go. So the topics that I'm going to talk about for the next 20 minutes, the area leaders voted on those. The sign that Jillian just showed you, the area leaders had a voice in that, so we just want you to know. So if you're interested, you can pull Martin aside, Lucy aside, or myself, okay? Martin, you're up.
Okay, the reason I take a minute here is you're listening to the city, you're listening to the sheriff, but we have a neighborhood watch program that's made up of you and me, the citizens of Temple City, and we have over 1,600 people signed up and active. And what are you supposed to do? You have these sheets that were given to you. You get the Connect magazine. The back page of Connect magazine has all the contact phone numbers. If you see graffiti, call it in. You see potholes, call it in. You see abandoned shopping carts, you call it in. You suspect there's a drug house in your neighborhood, call it in. And the numbers for you to call are on these things that you were handed out and in the Connect magazine. Too many people in Temple City think somebody else is going to do it. We're the people who are going to do it, you and I. I call them in all the time, those problems. In fact, the city sometimes gets tired of my phone calls. But they take action. Everything I've called in has had action taken, and the same thing is true for you out there. That's all I wanted to say. It is up to you to make our city a better place.
Thanks, Martin. Actually, we've got about 18 to 20 area leaders, and Martin and Lucy are kind of the two that are the strongest, that devote most of the time to us, so we really appreciate all the efforts by them. Okay, so this is our handout for you. It's just one packet. I know some of the folks were asking about packets from Mark, so I'll talk to him about getting that for next month because I know he's got a lot of great information for you as well. I just want you to know the packets, we're not going to have time to go through them, but on the first sheet, you've got my contact information, Brian Arizumi with the city, so if you have a city issue, you can email him or call him. You can email both of us if you'd like. And then all my partners and my sergeant are on here as well. So hang on to that. You've got a map of the crimes that are going on within your area, Area 3, for the last 6 months of last year. So you can take a look at that, and there's a lot of good information in here as well. So when you have time, take a look at it. Kurt Cardell in the back is one of my partners. Rob Alvarez is hiding somewhere, he's here. And then Ron Miranda is our team sergeant. So there's 3 deputies and a sergeant that make up our team, just so you know. All right, so let's get started with our topics. Basically, the area leaders came up with 4 topics they wanted to talk about. I don't have a lot of time, so we're going to do the best we can to finish by 7:30. A lot of the information I'm going to give you tonight is in your packets, so not to worry, okay? All right. These are our 4 topics. Burglaries, thefts, personal safety, and the protocol for calling the station. The protocol for calling the station we covered in year 1, 2 years ago when we did the program, but they thought it was important information, so they want you to have it. Okay, so the trends with residential and vehicle burglaries, fairly simple. Residential burglaries, vehicle burglaries are the things we're getting hit with the most right now. I know the couple of you, how many of you have been recently the victim of a residential or vehicle burglary? Raise your hands. Because I know there's quite a few. Okay. One other thing. How many of you are getting weekly reports of all the crimes that are going on within the city? Okay, great. If you're not, make sure you sign up on that sheet that Martin has back there. Leave your name and your email address and your home address and phone number, because every week we send out pertinent information about all the crimes that are going on within the city. And if you've been following those, you're going to see within the last couple of months, we've had a number of residential and vehicle burglaries. That's our big problem, okay? The problem we're having with that is we have the economy, which is hurting everybody, and the justice system is kind of letting us down. Basically, we go out and arrest these crooks. I'll give you one example. Residential burglary typically is a 2 or 3 year sentence when you catch somebody breaking into somebody's house, right? Okay, nowadays, they're getting like 6 months and they're out within a month. All right, and that's for a residential burglary. We're arresting guys for grand theft. Kurt, what was that for?
Grand theft, $2,000 worth of stuff.
Video equipment.
He got 9 days. He came in on Thursday, and Monday when he saw the judge, they said, we'll give you 9 days, 4 days time served. He was out.
He was out in 4 days. So we actually had him on video. He was stealing video equipment, if I'm not mistaken. You know, yeah, a security system. They've got as well. All right, our trends. Basically, we're having a lot of people coming in from out of the area into our city. They're knocking on your front door, ringing your doorbell, and when you don't answer and you're home, they're either busting in the front door or they're going around the back and doing the same thing. It used to be, we would tell kids, when you're home alone, don't answer the door, right? Now we teach kids, look, if you're home alone, you make sure you say, hey, my mom's in the shower, she can't come to the door now. We're telling people, if someone's knocking on your door, find out, watch them, find out where they're going. Because as soon as they knock and you don't answer, they're walking around your backyard. You better be calling 911 if that's the case. All right? You better be calling 911. And we'll talk about when you want to call 911 and when you don't. Okay? That's our biggest issue right now. All right? We're also having construction burglaries, where homes are under construction or remodeling. Fumigation burglaries, where the house is being tented for termites. People are going in. These dummies are going in with t-shirts over their faces and stealing your jewelry and other items. And then also we have distraction burglaries. Now, I don't have time to go into all those, but the construction, the distraction burglaries, and the fumigation burglaries I've laid out in your packets, and you've got bullets on all the important issues. And I try to keep it simple so you don't have to do a lot of reading. All right? You know the points. All right? Vehicle burglaries, we're getting a lot of vehicle burglaries of unlocked vehicles. Not so much of window smashes, okay, but of unlocked vehicles. Now, I believe, and I don't really have anything to back it up with, that there are devices out there that these crooks can get their hands on to actually get into your cars. And I don't really believe that there are that many people out there leaving their cars unlocked. We do have some. But how do we prevent that? Okay? We're going to avoid, I'll show that in a minute. We're going to avoid leaving things in our cars. Okay? And I know there's a couple of you in this room that have left things in their cars and they know better. And I won't point out who you are. Because I wouldn't want to put you on the spot. Lucy's raising her hand, but yeah. All right?
My car was broken into.
We tell people all the time, look, if you're gonna leave your car outside overnight, if you're gonna leave it in the parking center, don't leave anything in it. Even a bag with nothing in it. A backpack, your kid's backpack for school. The crooks don't know what's in there, okay? GPSs. I can't tell you how many reports we see, and I know Ron goes through them all, where people leave GPSs, laptop computers, their purse. Now, fortunately, that doesn't happen very often, but often enough, okay? Don't leave change in your car, because these transients that are cruising around at night on bikes that don't have any money, they see that change, they're going in, and they're going to go through your car. The best way to avoid it is don't leave anything in the car whatsoever. Use your alarm if you have an alarm, right? How many of you still leave stuff in your car? Be honest. How many of you are honest? Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so, no, that's good. Now, don't get mad at him now. Wait till he gets home, right? You can chastise him. Okay, so I got a couple videos I want to show you. Julian's going to help me out because I'll mess it up. These are, this is a window smash, and this is just with a piece of a spark plug, just a small piece, where, you know, I want you to see how easy it is for them to smash your window for you. Yeah. Oh, that's the other one. That's okay. Yeah, there you go.
Get ceramic. Throw a glass.
Just that simple. Just that simple. Thank you. Can you do the next one? Can you do the next one? Okay. Yeah. If I do it, I'm going to mess up and we're going to go all on there. So this is a window punch. So a little more effort. You can see him kind of struggling to get it, you know, to break it, but just that simple. Okay. The spark plug actually works better. Thanks, Julie. Okay. So how do we prevent it? We talked about your vehicle safety, right? Your homes. Protect your homes. There's a number of bullets in that packet, but basically lock your house up. We have more homes that actually have open windows and unlocked doors than we care to see, you know. If you have valuables, hide those valuables. If you have an alarm, use it. We have people that have alarm systems, they don't use it. Use the alarm system. Talk to your neighbors. Get to know your neighbors. I know things have changed in Temple City. I grew up in this town. All right? Get to know at least one of your neighbors, and if you're on vacation, have them check on your house for you. You know, I used to have my neighbor actually bring in the mail and, you know, feed our cat when we were on vacation. You know, if you don't know your neighbors that well, that's fine, but get to know them. Okay? But there are a number of things listed in your handouts that can help you protect your home. All right? And keep an eye on the area. If you see suspicious activity, and we're going to touch on that, call. A lot of people don't want to call, and we find out when it's too late that maybe they saw somebody's car back in, you know, their neighbor's home, and, you know, they didn't bother to call us when it was going on, and the neighbor was on vacation. So just some things to think about. All right, so I want to show you an interview. This gentleman is a career criminal, and he's a burglar. That's all right.
Cover is very important. I don't want someone to see me breaking into this house, so the house must have cover, trees, or big tall wooden fences, you know, like people have around the house, around swimming pools, or cover. When I say cover, anything that I can get up close to this house and it'll hide me where somebody can't just maybe look out their window, the next door neighbor look out and say, well, somebody else. After I look for the plants in people's yards, how they take care of yards, toys is very important because it depends on what kind of thief I am. If I'm looking for guns, or if I'm looking for jewelry, if I'm looking for this or that, and me myself, I was a jewel thief, and women have the jewels. And if I see a bunch of toys in the yard, then I know it's a woman live there. Then I look at it. I look at if the house has an alarm. After I make sure the house got covered, I make sure the house got an alarm or doesn't have an alarm, you know. But all that's nothing if I don't look at the next door neighbor's house too, on both sides. If there's houses on both sides of this house that I'm checking out to break into, I gotta make sure the neighbor's houses is secure too. And not only that don't mean that the neighbors doesn't have to be home, because I don't care if the neighbors is at home. I look for the neighbors, because neighbors are nosy, you know. If I ride through your neighborhood and you see me and two more black guys, you're gonna automatically call the police, because we look suspicious. But if I'm by myself and I'm walking through a neighborhood and I got a rake thrown over my shoulder and plastic bags hanging out my back pocket and a pair of gloves hanging out my back pocket, well, you think I'm somebody's yard man. Well, it isn't the case. That's just a disguise, you know. That's just something I do to make me look, to fit in more. Yes, you always knock on everybody's door. I don't just, I mean, me, I can look at a house and tell you if somebody's home or not, but I'm still gonna knock on your door to make sure you're not home. Because I have been in houses with people in their sleep. And when I go in the house and people in their sleep, they never wake up. I turn around and I leave, I walk back out, and I don't take anything. I'm not on the door to avoid any confrontations, because if I go in your house, I don't want you to be home. I think I've broken maybe 2 or 3 houses in the night. I've never broken in houses at night just because of the fact people come home at night. In the daytime, when you break in houses at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, you know people's at work. And I never break into a house close around lunchtime, because people come home for lunch sometimes. And usually when they start getting close to lunch, I don't break in the houses. But anywhere from 8 on up to 11 o'clock, that's the time.
What do you think? Pretty interesting, right? He talks about cover. He talks about your neighbors. The thing that I found most interesting, and we know about in law enforcement, is the fact that if you're home and he walks in your house and you're sleeping, he's going to leave. He's not even going to take anything. Fortunately, most of your crooks, they don't want a confrontation. They want to get in as quickly as they can, get your stuff and go, okay? Just so you know. Are you guys all paranoid now? Are you going to call if you find an African American walking through Temple City now? Most of you would probably anyway, because of the layout, the way the city is, right? Okay, so thefts, that's our second topic. Now normally we have about 45 minutes with you, so we have plenty of time to go over things and give you scenarios, but that's not the case tonight. So I apologize for that, but not a problem, we still cover everything. Unlocked vehicles, we talked about that, right? Don't leave anything in your car that you don't want taken. Don't leave anything in the car, period, right? All right, mail theft. How many of you still pay your bills through the mail instead of online? And how many of you leave your bills for the postal carrier? All right? I know some of you do, because when we go door to door handing out the flyers, you know, we see the bills out there, right? Okay.
The only time I leave mine when I'm in my dining room and I know that don't put your...
Good, so you're kind of keeping an eye on everything. Yeah. It's fairly common for crooks to drive around and actually just scout the area looking for mail, you know, and just like Mark was talking about with identity theft, you know, they get your information, your account number, your name, and within minutes, they're shopping somewhere else. Okay? Just something to think about. We don't get it too often here in the city, but it does happen from time to time. Bike thefts, they've been going on for years. They come in spurts with us throughout the city. The only thing you really need to know about that is lock the bike, okay, which doesn't guarantee that it's not going to get taken. However, if you've got a serial number, write the serial number down on a piece of paper, and here's why. We may never get that bike back. And the reality is, in most cases, if something's stolen from your home or your car, in 95% of the cases, we're not going to get stuff back. It's just not going to happen. You know, I wish I could tell you the percentages were greater, but they're not, okay? But with the bike, especially with these transients and these people that are narcotics users, they can't get around because they can't afford cars, they don't have licenses, so they're on bikes. And at night, they're ripping off your cars and what have you, stealing from your cars. Well, if we stop somebody and they're on a bike that actually, when we run that serial number, it comes back as a stolen bike, we can't actually arrest them for stealing the bike, but we can arrest them for another felony, which is receiving stolen property. So it gives us, that much more of a tool to use to arrest these guys. Okay? So just the big thing with bikes is, lock them, don't leave them in your front yard, and just keep the serial numbers so that you have them should they get stolen. Packages, huge. All right? We're getting more mail or package thefts than ever before. And it's really easy because a lot of these crooks will follow the UPS truck, right? And they see them drop the package off, and as soon as they're gone, they're walking up to the front porch. We've had video after video. Unfortunately, when we actually get a good enough video, unless we can identify the person, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Okay? But with UPS, what you can do is you can contact them and you can set up a time where you're home for them to deliver. They'll deliver to your backyard. How about your neighbor? How about if you have other family around where you have maybe, a parent or, an older person that's always around, deliver to their house. All right? But if you get a hold of UPS, they'll work with you and they can give you all the different options you have for your packages. Okay, I'll show you this video real quick, and then this is our last video.
In the open, credit card thieves hunting for an easy score, and wait until you see how they did it. Cambridge United's Martin Augustine has this story live. Martin?
Well, none of you ever come outside of your car to find a flyer tucked under your windshield, something advertising a new restaurant, a concert, or a car wash? Well, it looks like some thieves down at Overland Park are using flyers as a part of their scam.
Okay, so what you don't see, this video is kind of short. What you don't see, and they show, but it takes a little while for them to get to it, 2 people were actually handing out flyers in the parking lot, right? Well, within minutes, they go through all the unlocked cars, and they've got your credit card information because people leave their purses and their wallets in their cars, and they show them in the store of that parking lot shopping. And it used to be you'd have to have identification, right? Well, nowadays, you've got grocery stores, right? You go up and you swipe your card. You don't need anything. Nothing, right? And gas pumps, same thing. And that's why those skimming devices are so great. So just something to think about. Again, that just goes back to being safe with your vehicle and not leaving it in your car. Okay? Personal safety, safety precautions, what suspects look for. It's all in your handout. Basically, this is a safe town. We're talking about identity theft, we're talking about all the vehicle burglaries, all the residential burglaries. All in all, you have a safe community. And you see at night people walking around. But if you're a woman, you don't want to be walking by yourself. If you are, you can carry pepper spray, right? When you're walking, walk with confidence. Keep your head up. I can't tell you how many people I see walking down with their head down, and they're not really paying attention. If you make eye contact with somebody that's actually suspicious, you make eye contact, they're not going to mess with you. What they're looking for is elderly people that aren't paying attention or that are easy targets, okay? That's what they're looking for. All right, so if you're walking with confidence, if you've got your purse tucked in your arm, and if you're maybe walking down the sidewalk and the street is on this side over here, you're going to have your purse right here. If you're walking with another person, maybe have your purse next to the other person. Now you have that barrier, okay? All those things are listed in your packets for you, so you have all that information. I want to allow some time for questions and then get you out of here. We try to keep it to 7:30, okay? Because we know everyone's tired. Protocol for calling station, when to call 911, okay, and when just to call the regular number. And the regular number is on that first page of the packet I gave you as well. That's the 285-7171 number, okay? Obviously, if someone's knocking on your door and they're going around your backyard, they got no business being there, that's a big problem we're having right now. We want you calling 911. If you're not sure and you think it might be an emergency, call 911, okay? We still want you to, if you're not sure, we still want you to call 911. But in most cases, you're going to be able to call the station directly, maybe to report a crime. Maybe someone's parked in front of your house and they look suspicious. Maybe there's been a car there for a while. Somebody got out, they walked on the side of one of your neighbor's homes, but you're not really sure what they're doing. Then you call the station, the regular number, the 285-7171. Someone not breathing, somebody breaking into your house right away, things like that, those are 911 calls, okay? Most of you know that. The difference between emergent, priority, and routine calls. If your house has been broken into and you've walked into the house and you've cleared the house already and you see your house is broken into, that's going to be a routine call, and it might take a while for us to get there to your home, okay? A priority might be like a baby, which happens, believe it or not, a baby locked in a hot car, I mean, in a car on a hot day. You might have a child or even like a dog. You know, people are worried about dogs and if it's hot. You know, and believe it or not, people, you know, how many of you have left your kids in the car at one time or another? Anybody want to admit it? Because I know it happens, and you're not a bad parent, so we're not judging here, okay? But it does happen. So that would be a priority, something we want to get to right away, but we're not going to respond code 3-2, okay? We're not going to do the red lights and the siren, all right? Your emergent calls are, hey, somebody's knocking on my door, and now they're going into my backyard. That's emergent. We want to get there right away, and we'll get there within a minute or two, okay? Somebody not breathing, you know, things like that. Those are emergent calls. And then information the desk needs for responding deputies, which means when you call the desk, we need you to give them kind of the basics. It's in your handouts, okay, just so you know. But basically, if you're talking about maybe suspicious activity in a vehicle, as much information as you can about the car. Now look, we don't want you doing a long list and, you know, they got tinted windows and there's a dent on the right. We don't need all that. Just a basic color of the vehicle. You know, if you know what kind of car it is, great, 2-door, 4-door. And if you can get a license plate safely, then do so. But we don't want you going out there and confronting people and, you know, try to scare them off and get their license plate numbers, because we don't, nowadays you just never know. And, you know, it's happened, you know, and it's worked out well. We had a house getting broken into some months ago, actually about a year ago, and the neighbor thought it was suspicious, and as the guy was walking out, he walked over and he took a picture of the license plate, which was great, you know, and then the guy got in the car and took off. We ended up finding out he was the guy that broke into the car and we arrested him. So it worked out well. But we don't want to put, you know, we don't want you to put yourself in harm's way, okay? Suspicious people, look, a male, white, Hispanic, black, Asian, you know, we want to know about that, rough, approximate age, and maybe what they're wearing, you know, simple things. It's all in your handouts for you, so you have it all, okay? And then if you're unsatisfied, which, how many of you have called the station and been unsatisfied? Maybe somebody was rude to you, maybe they didn't send somebody out, you thought they should send somebody out for something? It's okay. We're not going to follow you home and write you a ticket tonight, it's okay. Anybody? Because usually I have one or two, so it's all good. Okay, no, look, we're human, right? And some of us get it more than others, you know? And so sometimes you're getting civilians that are answering the phones. But if you have a situation where maybe you called and you didn't get the service you thought you needed, you can always ask for the watch commander. But certainly let me know about it. Just email me about it. I'll get a hold of Ron, let him know, because he's a supervisor, and he can check into it for you. Okay? Now, we went 5 minutes over, which we don't like to do at all. We still want to get...